Anything else on hacking PSG?
I think that's all I got. I believe that would make me on the clock for the third pick.
Who are you taking third?
Give me the champions of England to take on the champions of the Netherlands here. Chelsea versus Ajax. This feels, honestly, kind of similarly to PSG and BK Häcken. I think this is a challenge for both clubs. On one hand, you have Chelsea. They're fighting through the significant losses of Sam Kerr and Millie Bright, even though Bright should be returning soon. You have USA star Caterina Macario for Chelsea coming back from an ACL. That comeback seems imminent. Meanwhile, Ajax is fresh off the heels of a gutsy victory over AS Roma in just a must-have moment in match day 6. A must-have of must-haves, if you will. You had to win for your tournament life. And they did it. So they should be flying high off of those emotions, I think.
Yeah, I mean, excellent call. On one hand, you could look at Ajax's productivity in the first 6 matches. You know, they end the group stage with a -1 goal differential, XG differential right around -3.5-ish. So they weren't the most prolific team, but they did have like a penchant for like huge goals, you know, and just huge step up moments. The only match where they really got kind of worked a little bit was that first one against Roma, at Roma, where they lost 3-0. And that one just kind of got away from them. Chasity, I think, got in their head, and they just kind of couldn't claw their way back into that one. All other 5 matches, they were right up in the mix. PSG gave them a hard time as well, but they still fought back in that PSG match much more than they did in the Roma match. So they do have the big play in them. With that said, I think Romée Leuchter is kind of the key here. So domestically, in 10 starts, she's 10 goals and 5 assists. Champions League, she's got 2 goals, no assists in 6 matches. She's Ajax's finisher, and against this Chelsea side, she just has to turn chances into goals. You know, so Johanna, she's been great. Chasity Grant's been effective getting the ball upfield. 19 progressive carries for her in 6 matches. As a team, though, I mentioned their lack of goals, just 12 shots on target. 5 goals, not counting the own goal against Roma and the penalty kick for Spitse. So really 5 goals from open play on 12 shots on target in 6 matches on 55 total shots. So I think if they can put a few more of those on target and maybe be a little bit more clinical when they do get something on target, they've got a shot to advance, but it's going to be tough. And I think offensively, they're going to have to just kind of be more opportunistic and more productive when those chances do arise.
Tell me if my ancestral background is influencing me here. And I think I might go the other way. As people know, I'm an England supporter, but I'm a fan of another English football club that wears a different kind of blue. So maybe, and I know Raj Bennett of Men in Blazers always points out what just diabolical haters English people are. So tell me if I'm letting my ancestral nature get in here. I thought Chelsea was kind of up and down in this group stage. I know they went 4-2-0 in the group stage. They had 1 draw in Spain against Real Madrid on match day 1. But then they had that bit of a stunner at Stamford Bridge where they drew BK Häcken. The +10 goal differential looks great, but I think it's worth noting that the Blues battered Perry FC 4-1 in one match and 4-0 in the other fixture. So, you know, +7 of that goal differential is just them beating the crap out of Perry FC in what was very obviously a bad matchup for Perry FC, as we've talked about.
Yeah.
So again, I don't want to seem like a big old hater. I think Chelsea's vulnerable, man. I'm not guaranteeing an upset by Ajax here, but if Chelsea doesn't at least get a draw in Amsterdam, I think it might be scary hours for Emma Hayes and the squad here.
That's going to be something. If Ajax can win the first leg, I feel like Ajax has the personnel to kind of lock down and be like, we're going to make it real, real hard on you. And we're going to take our chances, you know, because Leuchter's, when she's gunning, she's scary. And I 100%. Think like they've got the, and Chasity Grant too, like she's tough to deal with. They definitely could be dangerous, but defensively, they can also like really sink in and make it really hard. So I think you're right on the money there. With regard to Chelsea, I found this really interesting. So they only have had 3 players, 3 play in all 6 Champions League matchups. Nüsken, Kaneryd, and Niamh Charles. Those are the only 3 players that played in all 6. So
that's wild.
The lineup's been all over the place. Injuries, like you mentioned. The first Perry FC match, that one was charged by Sam Kerr.
Yep.
You mentioned Macario maybe coming back. They obviously bring in Mayra Ramírez, who's eligible to play in the quarterfinals. She's already gotten some WSL run. So the lineup's still very much in flux. My wonder is, over these next 4 or 5 weeks, is that going to be enough time to kind of figure out what lineup we need to kind of like trot out there against Ajax, knowing the matchup, and also develop the chemistry, because again, very different from domestic league, where, all right, it's a Saturday afternoon against West Ham and all right, whatever, a draw doesn't really kill us.
Right.
But this match at Ajax is like super high leverage just because they don't want to be in that position. Now Emma Hayes, I'm sure she can figure it out. She got a ton of talent to choose from, but trying to kind of construct a new lineup, because now you really, really need something coming back to Stamford Bridge, just because that's the way that the quarterfinals opened up. This one's super intriguing as well. I mean, I think this is the most up in the air of the matchups to me, because I think even PSG Hacken, I'm excited to see it just because of the styles, but this one feels like the most even.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. And man, it is such a good point about the continuity or the lack thereof with the Chelsea side. And let me just raise my hand. Niamh Charles, just what a player. I mean, pencil her in left back, just a stalwart back there. Great call out that she's played in all 6 Champions League matches. We mentioned Kat Macario. She's on the mend. She's coming back. She's coming back from an ACL. So, I mean, you got to give her 35 minutes in the first matches that she comes back. And are you going to give her those 35 minutes in a Champions League quarterfinal? I don't know. Maybe that wouldn't be exactly setting her up for success, depending on how she looks in training. You hopefully try to get her in some WSL games. But, I think you're right. Emma Hayes, obviously, she's a brilliant mind. She's got a lot of pieces to work with. But if you're going up against Ajax, who has a very clear identity, and you followed the group of life so closely, you got to make sure that your team has a level of chemistry going into the match before you see a Sherida Spitse-led team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the last thing I've got in my notes, let me just make sure I'm reading this right. OMG Cuthbert versus Johannes.
Buddy, tell me that's not some into the channel type shit right there. That is chef's kiss. That's football right there. I mean, that writes itself.
This is a little bit of Mike Tyson's Punch Out. They put you up against Saki Kumagai. It's like, all right, time to go up a level. Now we're going to throw Erin Cuthbert at you. See what Lily's going to be able to do. I mean, that's going to be a monster matchup. I mean, anytime those two are in contest for anything in the middle of the field, that's just pay-per-view right there.
I think so. And we don't act like we know any of these players personally. And we talk about how it's hard to find out a lot about these players in the women's game right now. Mm-hmm. But in football, a fun thing is to kind of look at the characteristics of players and see how that fits into their cultural background. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say Erin Cuthbert likely doesn't give a shit about an underdog story, and she's not interested in anybody making their bones while she's on the goddamn pitch. So I look forward to seeing that battle, and you've pointed it out about her. There are times where Erin Cuthbert might think, oh, we need the leadership out here. I'm scoring today. And so to see her play in the midfield with Fran Kirby, I look to see a very aggressive Erin Cuthbert, probably early in this match.
Yeah, and I think I'm glad you mentioned Fran Kirby too, because she's been on one lately.
Yep.
I think maybe the chaos within the lineup has kind of helped her. Mm-hmm. She's definitely stepped up and kind of steadied the ship offensively, which has been cool to see. So, like I said, this one's going to be back and forth. Very excited to kind of get to it.